Ever wondered how OpenAI went from like this idealistic nonprofit to, well, the AI powerhouse it is today?
It's a fascinating story, for sure.
And we've got a pretty unique window into that journey. Leaked emails.
Oh, juicy.
From the Musk v. Altman lawsuit, no less. Raw, unfiltered exchanges between, well, everyone. Elon Musk, Sam Altman, the whole OpenAI team. Talk about a treasure trove.
We're talking billion-dollar offers, fears about, AI becoming, too powerful.
Oh, and a little bit of corporate shade thrown in for good measure.
It's a wild ride, and these emails show us how OpenAI went from, that idealistic vision to, well, the reality of building something this powerful.
Yeah.
We see those big decisions, the power struggles, all of it.
Okay, so rewind back to 2015, May 25th to be exact.
Setting the scene.
It all starts with an email. Sam Altman to Elon Musk. Subject line. Question. Simple enough, right?
I bet it was anything but simple.
You bet. Here's what Altman wrote. Elon, I've been thinking a lot about the best way to ensure that the future of AI is good for humanity. And I think one of the most important ingredients is to have a leading research lab that's not controlled by Google and that is fully aligned with the interests of humanity. This is something I think YC could play a significant role in. I think the best way to do this is to create a new nonprofit research company that is fully independent from Google. The company would be called OpenAI, and its mission would be to advance digital intelligence in the way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole, unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. We'd initially fund this with $1 though it's likely to take more over time. I think you are the perfect person to lead this effort. You understand the magnitude of the challenge, and you are deeply committed to ensuring that AI is used for good. What do you think?
So that's the pitch, huh? A Manhattan project for AI, but outside of Google's control.
Exactly. And just a few hours later, Musk replies. Short and sweet, probably worth a conversation.
And just like that, the seed is planted.
A month later, June 24th, Altman follows up. This time, he's got a more detailed vision laid out. He writes, Elon, here's a draft of OpenAI's mission. Mission statement. OpenAI is a nonprofit artificial intelligence research company. Our goal is to advance digital intelligence in the way that is most likely to benefit humanity as a whole, unconstrained by a need to generate financial return. Since our research is free from financial obligations, we can better focus on a positive human impact. We believe that AI should be an extension of individual human wills and, in the spirit of liberty, as broadly and evenly distributed as possible. The outcome of this venture should be that as many people as possible have AI, not that a small handful of people have a super powerful AI. We believe that the creation of this superintelligence should happen in full view of the public, and that the benefits should accrue to humanity as a whole. We are a team of the best AI researchers and engineers in the world. We are not a typical nonprofit. We intend to operate on an extremely high level of ambition and aggression. We are not just another research lab. We intend to build real products and make them available to the world. We are not just another company. We intend to change the world. Governance. The board will initially be comprised of Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Pierre Omidyar, Dustin Moskovitz, Sam Altman. The board will meet quarterly and will be responsible for setting the overall direction of the company. The board will also be responsible for approving any major decisions, such as the hiring of key personnel or the acquisition of other companies. Funding. We are initially funded with $1 valors. Compensation. We will pay competitive salaries and offer generous equity grants. However, our compensation will not be tied to the financial performance of the company. This is because we believe that our employees should be motivated by the mission of the company, not by personal financial gain. I think this is a good starting point. What do you think?
So they're aiming high, not just research, but real products that impact the world. Ambitious stuff.
And they knew they needed the best of the best to pull it off. Which brings us to November 22nd, 2015.
Oh, sounds like trouble's brewing.
Greg Brockman, another OpenAI co-founder, emails Musk with an early draft of their launch blog post and a salary offer template.
Oh, the nitty-gritty of building a company, talent acquisition.
Here's what he says. Attached is a draft blog post for OpenAI's launch. The draft has a placeholder for salary. I wanted to quickly run that by you. Intern offers are going out tomorrow. Attached is the template we're using. $175K plus YC equity seems to be the right number. Comp is much less important to interns than to FT people, since the experience is primary. Other perks, unlimited vacation, paid conferences. Let me know if you have thoughts on either of these. I'm also going to get started on figuring out FT comp, both level and split between cash equity, for when we start doing those offers in January.
Interesting strategy. They're betting on the appeal of the mission, even if the pay isn't, top tier.
Right, emphasizing the chance to work on groundbreaking stuff. But a few weeks later, On December 8th, Musk weighs in on that blog post, and he makes it clear talent is everything. Here's a bit of what he said. Quote, "It is important to view the relative output of Google DeepMind and OpenAI. DM has a tremendous concentration of talent. We need to make the same level of effort as DM, and likely more, to recruit the very best. Given DM's head start, that means out-hustling them and offering better terms. Ultimately, the constraint is on exceptional talent, not dollars. I am also open to working out a deal with Google where they license some non-exclusive IP to OpenAI, but that would depend on the details. The key point to emphasize is that OpenAI is a nonprofit and will remain so. It will never be owned by any one company. It exists to ensure that the future of AI is beneficial to humanity as a whole. If the vast majority of AI talent is concentrated in a single for-profit company, then it is possible that they could use that talent to gain control of the world and prevent others from competing with them."
Musk is laying down the gauntlet. He sees this as a battle for the future of AI.
He's not messing around. And then just 3 days later, things get really interesting. December 11th, Altman emails Musk with some news. DeepMind is going to give everyone in OpenAI massive counteroffers tomorrow to try to kill it. Talk about a power move.
Whoa, DeepMind is playing hardball. They don't want OpenAI to even get off the ground.
Here's Altman's full email. "Elon, DeepMind is going to give everyone in OpenAI massive counteroffers tomorrow to try to kill it. Do you have any objections to our proactively increasing everyone's comp by 100K, 200K per year? We can afford it. It's still a tiny fraction of what Google will pay. We know everyone here is strongly mission-driven, but also want them to feel like we will always take care of them. This is my top priority right now, trying to figure out the best path through this. Sam."
Wow, that's a big jump in salary. They're really trying to fight back.
And Musk's response, immediate. Has Ilya come back with a solid yes? He's talking about Ilya Sutskever, a top AI researcher, crucial for OpenAI.
He knows who the key players are.
A few hours later, Altman delivers the good news. Yes, committed. Just gave his word. They got him.
Huge win. Sutskever's expertise was essential, both for their research and for attracting other top talent.
Musk is clearly relieved. Just replies, awesome. But later that day, he sends an email to the whole OpenAI team, congratulating them, acknowledging the challenges, but man, you can feel his determination.
Congrats on getting Ilya to say yes. We are outmanned and outgunned by a ridiculous margin by organizations you know well, but we have right on our side, and that counts for a lot. I like the odds. The output of any company is the vector sum of the people within it. If we are able to attract the most talented people over time and our direction is correctly aligned, then OpenAI will prevail. The future of humanity hangs in the balance. No pressure.
He's not just talking about building a company. He's framing this as a fight for humanity's future.
Exactly. And that focus on talent, on getting the best minds, it's a recurring theme in OpenAI's story. But remember, at this point, they're still a nonprofit, relying heavily on Musk's funding and vision. And that dependence is going to lead to some serious friction down the line. Buckle up, because this ride is just getting started. They've got Ilya Sutskever, right? They've fended off like DeepMind's talent poaching, but this fight for, the best AI researchers, it's nowhere near over. OpenAI, they're still up against this massive challenge. Google's resources, come on.
It's a classic David and Goliath story. You've got this idealistic nonprofit with this huge vision, and then there are these, industry giants. How do they even begin to manage that?
And you see that tension playing out, right, between their big ambitions and, just the practical realities of this AI arms race. It's all there in these emails.
Right, so where do we go from here? What happens next?
Let's jump ahead a bit. February 21st, 2016. Brockman emails Musk and Altman. It's all about compensation, for these new hires. They're basically offering a flat salary plus a bonus, but the bonus, it's in YC or SpaceX stock.
So still leveraging that appeal of being part of something big, something groundbreaking, even if they can't match those big salaries.
Exactly. Here's what he says. We're currently making offers to researchers using a framework of flat salary plus bonus in the form of YC or SpaceX stock. We're generally below market rate compared to Google FB, but the upside of YC SpaceX is massive, and many people seem to be excited about it. A few concrete examples. Ian Goodfellow is currently getting $165K cash plus $600K stock year at Google. Redacted is currently getting $250K pick here at Google. Redacted is currently getting $200K cash plus $400K stock year at FB. This makes it hard to get to parity with Google FB with our current framework. We can sometimes come close. A few specific questions. Should we negotiate with people who balk at taking a pay cut? If so, how much should we be willing to compromise on salary in order to get them? Is there a way to make the YC SpaceX equity more concrete, via by having a vesting schedule that's tied to milestones rather than time? I'm happy to discuss this in more detail whenever you're free.
Man, that's a pretty big difference in compensation. I get why Brockman was a little concerned.
And Musk's response? The next day. It's clear, decisive. We need to do what it takes to get the top talent. Let's go higher. If at some point we need to revisit what existing people are getting paid, that's fine. No messing around. Talent was everything. He was ready to adjust.
So he's doubling down on talent, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because he even mentions revisiting the compensation of people they already have. That suggests he's not just thinking about new hires, but retaining the people they've got.
Totally. And the next line in that email, it really shows you how much this mattered to him. Either we get the best people in the world or we will get whipped by DeepMind.
He's feeling that pressure from DeepMind.
DeepMind is causing me extreme mental stress. If they win, it will be really bad news with their one mind to rule the world philosophy. They are obviously making major progress, and well, they should, given the talent level over there.
Whoa. Okay, that is a strong statement. It really gives you a look into Musk's deeper motivations for starting OpenAI. He's not just interested in AI research, right? He's really concerned about those potential dangers. AI in the wrong hands.
This idea of a single powerful AI, maybe with values that don't, align with humanities, it's a recurring fear in these discussions about AI safety, and Musk is voicing it right here.
It's shaping his actions, his decisions about OpenAI, even in these early stages.
Right, and remember, this is 2016, the kind of AI we see today. It was basically sci-fi back then, but Musk was already sounding the alarm.
So Brockman, he picks up on that urgency. He replies, makes sense. We'll work with Sam on the specifics, but am prepared to escalate if needed, ready to go to battle.
You see how committed Musk was? Financially, emotionally, he wanted OpenAI to succeed. His anxieties about, AI safety, his competitive spirit, those were driving forces behind his investment big time.
But you can also see how that creates pressure. Inside OpenAI, they're always trying to balance their idealistic goals with this very real need to, get funding, attract the best people. It's a tough field.
It is, and that tension is only going to grow as OpenAI, develops, gets bigger.
So what happens next? What's the next chapter in this saga?
A few months later, March 2016, Brockman reaches out to Musk again. He's drafted some responses for a Wired article about OpenAI. He wants Musk's feedback, the reporters' questions. They're about OpenAI's commitment to, open research, this idea that distributing AI widely is the best way to prevent one entity from controlling a superintelligence, a dangerous one.
So preventing that single powerful AI, it's already being talked about publicly.
Right. It's a core part of their message right from the start. And Musk, by approving those responses, he's showing his support. This is important to him.
Then, April 2016, we get a little peek into how these concerns about AI safety are playing out in the, public sphere. Sam Teller, he worked closely with Musk, forwards him an email. It's from a New York Times reporter. They want Musk's reaction to some comments Mark Zuckerberg made.
Yes, Zuckerberg. He'd called Musk's concerns about AI hysterical, right? Downplayed the dangers. Focused on those potential benefits. It was quite the contrast.
Totally. Here's a bit of Musk's reply. History unequivocally illustrates that a powerful technology is a double-edged sword. It would be foolish to assume that AI, arguably the most powerful of all technologies, only has a single edge. Even with narrow AI, we've seen situations where algorithms have been used to discriminate against certain groups of people or to spread misinformation. The recent example of Microsoft's Tay chatbot, which was quickly corrupted by Twitter users and began spewing hateful content, is a prime example of how AI can be used for malicious purposes. As AI becomes more powerful, the potential for harm only increases. It's not just about some hypothetical evil AI taking over the world. It's about the very real dangers of AI being used to manipulate, control, or harm people in subtle and insidious ways. The wise course of action is to approach the advent of AI with caution and ensure that its power is widely distributed and not controlled by any one company or person. That is why we created OpenAI.
It's measured, but you can feel that tension. Musk's view versus Zuckerberg's, let's say, optimism.
And this whole debate, right? Benefits versus risks of AI. It's still going on today. It's a conversation we need to be having as a society.
For sure. And OpenAI, from the very beginning, they put themselves right in the middle of that debate. They wanted to be that force, the one that ensured AI developed safely, ethically. But we're about to see that's a lot harder than it sounds.
Okay, so we've seen OpenAI fighting for talent, dealing with the financial side of things, and even, getting into public debates about the future of AI. What happens next? Where does this roller coaster take us?
Well, OpenAI is growing, burning through cash. And that tension between their big mission and the reality of staying afloat in this AI arms race, it's about to hit a boiling point. So we've seen OpenAI, battling for that top talent, dealing with the financial pressures of it all, and even going head-to-head with, well, the giants of the industry. Where does it go from here? What happens next?
It sounds like things are about to get even more interesting.
They do, for sure. We're moving into 2017 now. It's a year of, major internal tension, growing pains for OpenAI.
Okay, paint us a picture. What were these tensions about?
One of the biggest things, control. Remember, Musk, he put a lot of money into OpenAI, right? And he was vocal about those, anxieties about AI safety, preventing one entity from, dominating the whole field.
Right, DeepMind's approach especially.
Exactly. So as OpenAI gets bigger, these questions start popping up. Who's really in charge? And what happens if they actually create, a really powerful AI?
It's a huge question. Control. Who has it? The implications are massive.
Totally. And those questions, they were causing friction, real friction at the top of OpenAI. August 28th, 2017. Siobhan Zilis, she's an advisor to Musk, emails him. It's a summary of a conversation she had with, get this, Brockman and Sutskever.
Okay, so what were they talking about? This sounds juicy.
So Zilis' email, it lays out 7 questions, big questions. Brockman and Sutskever are grappling with them. Control. Time commitment, equity split, their whole capitalization strategy. Here's a bit of that email. Per our convo, here are the 7 things Greg and Ilya are hung up on, in rough order of importance. Note that this is a bit of a stream of consciousness as I'm working off of memory and also trying to be accurate to the sentiment versus precise words. 1. Control. This is the biggest issue for them, and I don't see how we solved it. They are concerned they won't have enough control of the AGI, and they are also concerned you may end up with absolute control of the AGI. They understand the current structure, but worry that at the point where AGI exists, it's not a legal document that matters, but who has the power. They didn't say this next part, but I'm extrapolating here. They are also concerned that you don't trust them. 2, time commitment. They are worried about how much time you'll realistically be able to spend and are uncomfortable if OpenAI's fate hangs in the balance based on your schedule. They suggested the board meeting cadence should increase to monthly or even bi-weekly. They also felt like you should be at every board meeting, and that if you couldn't make it, that meeting should be rescheduled versus done without you. 3, equity split. This is something they felt like they should have pushed harder on in the original deal and want to revisit. In particular, they felt uncomfortable that they negotiated too much from the perspective of trying to maximize financial return versus thinking solely about what was best for the company. This was the point where I realized they had lost a lot of trust. I told them that their focus on personal financial upside had been a little off-putting in the context of our previous conversations about OpenAI. 4, capitalization strategy. I don't think this is a deal breaker, but they want to discuss capitalization strategy and whether they have a veto right if they think it's not in the best interests of the company. 5, what would happen if the board votes on something you disagree with? It's implicit that you have final say, but if they are right, what are their options? Do they have any? They worry you'll just do what you want regardless. 6, is AGI truly your primary motivation? How does it connect to your political goals? They didn't quite say this, but it was definitely implied in the way they phrased their concerns. 7, if things don't work out, what happens to their shares? This feels like a minor concern in the context of all of the others. Let me know when you have bandwidth to discuss this further, and I'll loop them in.
Man, you can really feel it, right? That tension, that uncertainty. They're straight up questioning Musk's involvement, his influence on, a future AGI.
Right, and it's not just about control, it's about his motivations. Do they really align with OpenAI's mission?
And that line about their focus on, financial upside. Ouch.
Yeah, the trust is breaking down. Big time. And Musk's reaction, this is very annoying. Please encourage them to go start a company. I've had enough.
He's reached his limit.
For sure. That honeymoon phase is over. A few weeks later, September 20th, Sutskever sends an email, subject line, honest thoughts. To Musk, Altman, some other key people at OpenAI, this email really puts it all out there. The conflict, I mean.
Okay, what did you say? Lay it on us.
Here's a bit of it. Elon, Greg, Sam, Wojcik, John, I'm writing this email because I feel there are some issues we need to resolve to have a healthy working relationship going forward. I'll start with my main concern. The current structure provides you with a path where you end up with unilateral, absolute control over the AGI. We've discussed this in the past, and we didn't come to a resolution. I understand why this is a reasonable path for you to take, but this is not a path that I and Greg are comfortable with. The main reason why this structure makes me uncomfortable is because I do not trust you to prioritize AGI safety over your other goals. I believe that your goals are not aligned with the goals of OpenAI, and that your control over the AGI would be dangerous for humanity. Specifically, I believe that your focus on Tesla and SpaceX, while admirable, distracts you from the task at hand. I believe that you are more interested in building cool products and making money than you are in ensuring that AGI is used for good. Furthermore, I believe that your political views are incompatible with the goals of OpenAI. I believe that your support for authoritarian regimes and your disdain for democracy pose a serious threat to the future of humanity. I understand that these are serious accusations and that you may disagree with them. However, I believe that they are true and that they need to be addressed. I also want to acknowledge that Greg and I have made mistakes in our negotiations with you. We have been too focused on potential financial returns, and we have not been forceful enough in voicing our concerns. We have allowed you to take advantage of us, and we regret it. However, we are committed to OpenAI, and we believe that its mission is more important than ever. We are willing to work with you to find a solution that addresses our concerns, but we will not compromise on our principles. This email is an attempt to be honest and open about my feelings. I believe that it is important to have this conversation and that we cannot move forward without resolving these issues. I hope that you will take my words seriously and that we can find a way to work together to ensure that the future of AI is beneficial to humanity as a whole. Sincerely, Ilya.
Wow, that is direct. He's not holding back at all.
It's an incredible email. Honestly, you can really feel those concerns, right? That frustration that's been building. They're at a crossroads.
And how did Musk take this? What was his reaction?
He responded right away, and it was just as blunt. Guys, I've had enough. This is the final straw. Either go do something on your own or continue with OpenAI as a nonprofit. I will no longer fund OpenAI until you have made a firm commitment to stay, or I'm just being a fool who is essentially providing free funding for you to create a startup. Discussions are over.
That's a pretty dramatic ultimatum. This is a turning point for OpenAI, isn't it?
It was. Musk drew a line in the sand. No more funding if there's this much distrust, this much disagreement about, the fundamental direction of OpenAI.
So what happened next? Did they find a way to, fix things?
Well, the next day, Altman replies to Musk. He's trying to, de-escalate. He's still enthusiastic about that nonprofit structure. Elon, thanks for this note. I want OpenAI to be a huge success for humanity, and I believe that the nonprofit structure is the best way to achieve this. I'm excited to continue working on this, and I hope we can all find a way to move forward together. Let's talk soon. Sam?
He's a lot more diplomatic than Sutskever, that's for sure. But the situation, it's fragile.
Very fragile. That trust, it's been damaged. Zillies, she emails Musk later, updating him. Brockman and Sutskever, they were willing to stay with the nonprofit, but they needed some guarantees, right? That they wouldn't pursue other things.
She's trying to rebuild that trust, trying to make it work.
Yeah, but Zillies also shares Altman's perspective. And it's not exactly rosy. Altman's lost a lot of trust in Brockman and Sutskever, even calls them childish sometimes.
Oof, that's not good. Feels like things are falling apart.
They were. And even though they're trying to keep going as a nonprofit, the money problems are getting worse. They just can't keep up with Google. Remember, they're burning through cash. Fast.
And Musk made it clear he's not that sole financial backer anymore, especially with all this conflict going on.
Right. So early 2018, they start looking at, other ways to get funding. January 21st, 2018, Altman emails Musk about, get this, an initial coin offering, an ICO.
An ICO. That was risky back then, right? Cryptocurrency was still the Wild West.
It was, but they were desperate, right? Needed to find a way to get those resources to compete.
So what did Musk think? An ICO for OpenAI?
One word, absolutely. It seems like he was open to anything at this point, even something as, high risk, high reward as an ICO.
Their financial situation, it's pushing them to consider things they never would have before?
Right. But a few weeks later, January 31st, another perspective comes in. Andrej Karpathy, he was a researcher at OpenAI at the time, emails Musk. It's an analysis of all those top AI institutions, and he really highlights Google's dominance.
So comparing themselves to the, 800-pound gorilla.
Exactly. And his conclusion, not great. OpenAI's nonprofit model, it just can't compete with Google's resources. He says, it seems to me that OpenAI today is burning cash and that the funding model cannot reach the scale to seriously compete with Google, an 800B company.
That's a pretty blunt assessment.
It was. And Musk, he clearly agrees. Forwards that email to Sutskever, Brockman, Altman, adds his own comment, emphasizes the urgency. OpenAI is on a path of certain failure relative to Google. There obviously needs to be immediate and dramatic action, or everyone except for Google will be consigned to irrelevance.
Sounding the alarm loudly.
He was, and he's not shy about what he thinks of the ICO. I think the ICO is a terrible idea. It would be a massive loss of credibility for OpenAI and everyone associated with the ICO. People would correctly perceive it as a cash grab and the opposite of what OpenAI stands for.
So the ICO's out. What options do they have left?
Musk. He suggests two things. First, a major expansion of OpenAI, more funding, a stronger board. But he also says, it'll be tough. He's not going to be the main money guy anymore. Second option, expanding Tesla AI, using Tesla's resources, its growth.
Interesting. He's starting to distance himself from OpenAI, isn't he? Thinking about other ways to, pursue his AI vision.
He is, and he's getting more critical of OpenAI's management. I have a lot of respect for your abilities and accomplishments, but I am not happy with how things have been managed. That is why I have had trouble engaging with OpenAI in recent months. Either we fix things and my engagement increases a lot, or we don't, and I will drop to near zero and publicly reduce my association. I will not be in a situation where the perception of my influence and time doesn't match the reality.
He's not happy.
He's laying down the law. It's a totally different Musk than we saw in those early emails.
Things have changed. The relationship's gone sour. And with Musk stepping back, OpenAI has to face reality, that non-profit model. Maybe it's just not going to work. They're at a crossroads. What happens next? Do they find a way to, change course?
They start thinking about a radical idea. What if they become a for-profit company?
That seems like the opposite of their whole mission. How do they, reconcile that with this idea of preventing one powerful entity from controlling AI?
It was a big move, controversial for sure. But their argument, to compete with Google, they needed money, big money. And that wasn't happening as a nonprofit.
So they felt like they had to compromise their ideals to achieve their goals. That's tough.
It is, and it's something a lot of companies, a lot of organizations face, right, when you're dealing with powerful tech. But OpenAI, they tried to structure this for-profit thing in a way that, lessened the potential conflicts.
How so? What do they do?
They created this unique structure, a capped profit model. Basically, investors in their for-profit arm, OpenAI LP, they'd get a limited return. Anything beyond that cap, it goes back to the original nonprofit, OpenAI Inc.
So they're attracting investment, but the ultimate winner is still the nonprofit, the one dedicated to, their original mission.
Exactly, having their cake and eating it too. And it was pretty innovative, recognizing that they needed that big investment, but trying to hold on to their values.
But did it work? Did they manage to, pull it off?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? That shift to for-profit, it let them get those big investments, led to some, groundbreaking AI. ChatGPT, for example.
ChatGPT has been huge.
It has. But it's also made people wonder, has OpenAI gone too far? Some critics say, because they're close to Microsoft now, right?
Yeah.
Big investor in OpenAI LP, that they're not as focused on the bigger picture, on how this stuff impacts society.
So those concerns Musk raised, back in those early emails, they're still relevant.
Totally. Profit versus responsibility. It's an ongoing struggle in AI. And OpenAI's story, it's a perfect example of that.
It's been a wild ride, right? Twists, turns, high stakes, big personalities, and it's not over yet.
Nope. And it raises these huge questions for all of us. As AI gets more powerful, how do we make sure it benefits everyone? Who gets to decide its future? How do we balance profit with, safeguarding our future?
These are questions we can't ignore, especially with AI moving so fast. OpenAI's story, it reminds us that the future of AI isn't set in stone. We're all shaping it with the choices we make today. Thanks for diving into these leaked emails with us today.
Absolutely. It all started with a simple email, but it's become this reflection of, everything, our hopes, our fears, the dilemmas we face in this age of AI, and the story. It's far from over.